Avoid this mistake if you want peace of mind, self-respect, and real power over your life. You might think toxic habits are all about bad diets, late night scrolling, or skipping the gym. But the Stoics, those ancient masters of self-discipline and inner strength, saw something deeper. They believed the most destructive habits are the ones hiding in plain sight. The ones that feel normal, comfortable, even rewarding at first. But here's the hard truth. The habits that go unnoticed are often the ones that quietly shape your character and ruin your potential. If you've ever felt stuck, anxious, reactive, or like your life is controlled by other people or emotions, this video isn't just for you. It's about you. Because what the Stoics warned us about centuries ago is still true today. The real battle isn't out there, it's in here. And if you want to win it, you need to recognize these 6 toxic habits and stop them before they control your mind, your mood, and your momentum. Let's start with the first one, seeking validation. Number 1. Seeking validation. Why Stoics warn against needing approval. Have you ever posted something online and then obsessively checked your phone, hoping for likes, hearts, or even just a single comment? Yeah, we all did. It's that small hit of approval that feels so good, it's addictive. And it's not just social media. It's in the way we dress, the words we choose, the jobs we take, and sometimes, the lives we live, all shaped subtly, or not so subtly, by what others might think of us. Now here's the thing. Wanting to be liked isn't inherently wrong. We're wired for connection. That moment when someone says, "You did a great job," or "I'm proud of you." That feels incredible. It lights something up inside us. But here's where the Stoics drop their wisdom like a cold splash of water on the face. What happens when your entire self-worth depends on that praise? That's when it stops being connection and starts becoming a cage. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." Think about that. How many decisions have you made not because it was right for you, but because you were afraid of what people would say if you didn't? The Stoics believed that true peace comes from internal validation, not external applause. Epictetus reminded his students, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." That's brutal honesty. It means not chasing the crowd, not molding yourself to fit someone else's version of success. And that's terrifying, because what if we're left out? What if we disappoint someone? But the reality is, people's opinions are like shifting winds. One moment you're praised, the next you're forgotten. The likes dry up, the compliments stop coming. And if that's where your value lives, then what's left? Take a moment to remember your teenage self. Remember how desperate we were to fit in? The clothes, the slang, the music, the peer pressure. So much of it wasn't really us, but what we thought we had to be. And here we are, adults now, still craving a thumbs up from strangers. Now here's the curious part. What would your life look like if you truly stopped caring about being liked? What would you say if you weren't afraid of criticism? What would you wear, build, or chase if you no longer needed a standing ovation? That kind of freedom, emotional freedom, is exactly what the Stoics believed in. It's not about becoming cold or isolated, it's about becoming centered. So the question isn't whether validation feels good. It does. The question is, can you live well without it? Number 2. The prison of overthinking. Stop obsessing over the past and future. Imagine this. It's late at night. You're lying in bed, exhausted, but your brain's just getting started. Replaying that awkward conversation, worrying about next week's meeting, regretting a missed opportunity, fantasizing about a better version of yourself. Somewhere, someday, somehow. Sound familiar? Overthinking is like trying to control a wildfire with a squirt gun. You aim your thoughts at one area, only to watch another flare up. The more you try to think your way into peace, the more tangled your mind becomes. And the Stoics? They saw this habit not just as exhausting, but dangerous. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." He wasn't talking about fiction books. He was talking about the mind games we play with ourselves. The ones where we assume the worst, relive the past, or try to predict outcomes we can't possibly control. Let's be real. Your mind is a brilliant machine. It can solve problems, plan ideas, and invent futures. But left unchecked, it can also become your own personal tormentor. It'll convince you that you're not good enough, that people are judging you, that failure is just around the corner. All while you're just sitting there, staring at the ceiling. The Stoics believed that mental discipline isn't about suppressing thoughts. It's about choosing the right ones to listen to. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That means letting go of the what ifs and should haves and anchoring yourself to the now. And yet, there's something painfully familiar about overthinking, isn't there? It almost feels productive. Like if you worry enough, maybe the bad thing won't happen. Like if you obsess over the past, maybe you can fix it somehow. But deep down, we know, it doesn't work that way. Worry doesn't prevent disaster. Regret doesn't rewrite history. Let's take it back. Think about a time you were fully present. Maybe it was a childhood memory, riding your bike on a summer day without a single care. Or maybe it was a conversation that made you forget the clock. Moments like that remind us, we weren't born as overthinkers. It's something we learned. So here's the curiosity the Stoics leave us with. What if peace isn't in solving every mental problem, but in stopping the mental noise altogether? What if the life you want isn't hiding in the future, or buried in the past, but waiting for you in this exact moment? That's not just philosophy, that's freedom. Number 3. Emotional reactivity. Mastering yourself before the moment controls you. You wake up late. Spill your coffee. Get cut off in traffic. Your phone dies and someone makes a passive-aggressive comment at work. And just like that, your whole day spirals. You snap at someone. You shut down. Maybe you even take it out on yourself. Sound like a normal Tuesday? Let's face it, life doesn't ask permission before throwing chaos at us. But what if I told you that the Stoics believed your reactions, not your circumstances, were what truly defined you? It starts with a simple but powerful truth. You don't have to attend every emotional fire your brain invites you to. Emotions are natural, but when we let them control our actions without pause, we become prisoners to every trigger, every insult, every bad mood. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That means you could be in the middle of a storm, and still remain calm inside. But it takes practice. Because let's be honest, emotional reactivity feels good in the moment. That angry text you send. That argument you win. That sigh that says, "I'm done." It feels like power. But here's the catch. It's usually false power. Real power? That's when you pause. When you breathe. When you hold the line, not because you're weak, but because you're in control. And that kind of self-mastery is rare. Especially in a world that rewards outrage and knee-jerk reactions. Now rewind the tape for a second. Think about a time you overreacted, and immediately regretted it. Maybe you said something you didn't mean. Maybe you lost someone's respect. Maybe you lost your own. Those moments stay with us. Not because they were loud, but because they were out of alignment with who we want to be. And maybe even deeper, remember a time when you held back. When you stayed calm even though everything inside you screamed not to. That quiet victory? That's Stoicism in action. That's proof that you're capable of more than just reacting, you're capable of responding. So the question becomes, what would happen if your emotions stopped being your master and became your messenger instead? What if anger simply pointed you towards something that needs attention? What if fear reminded you to prepare, not to panic? What if sadness deepened your empathy instead of isolating you? The Stoics didn't want you to feel nothing. They wanted you to feel everything, but act from wisdom, not impulse. And in today's world, that's not just discipline. That's superpower level control. Number 4. Pleasure addiction. Escaping the grip of comfort and desire. Let's be real, comfort is everywhere. One-tap food delivery, binge-worthy shows queued up for hours, late-night scrolling that lulls us into a digital trance. We've built a world where almost every desire can be satisfied instantly. And at first, it feels like we've won the jackpot. Who wouldn't want convenience? Who wouldn't want ease? But here's the part we don't always talk about. When pleasure becomes constant, it stops feeling like pleasure. It becomes numbness. It becomes noise. It becomes a silent trap that tricks us into thinking we're living when we're really just coasting. The Stoics were deeply aware of this. They warned against being ruled by desire, especially when that desire comes dressed in luxury and pleasure. Seneca put it plainly. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. Craving comfort, endlessly chasing indulgence, might look like freedom, but it often leads to dependence and eventually, weakness. The issue isn't with enjoyment itself. The Stoics weren't monks hiding from the world. They laughed, ate, drank, had friends, and enjoyed life. But they warned, don't let those pleasures own you. Don't build your strength on sand. If your mood, focus, or purpose crumbles the moment things get uncomfortable, you're not free, you're fragile. Let's make this real. How often do we reach for our phones the moment we feel bored? How quickly do we cancel a plan if it seems inconvenient? How often do we reward ourselves before we've even done anything to earn it? That dopamine loop is subtle. It's not about being lazy, it's about being conditioned. Now go back. Think of a time when you worked hard for something, really hard. Maybe it was saving for your first car, earning a degree, or even finishing a tough workout after wanting to quit. That feeling you got afterward? That's earned satisfaction. And it's 1,000 times deeper than any temporary comfort a screen or snack could give you. And this brings us to something curious. What happens when you start denying yourself comfort, not out of punishment, but out of discipline? What changes when you say no to easy and yes to hard on purpose? The Stoics had a practice called voluntary discomfort. They'd sleep on the floor, eat bland food, go without luxuries, not because they were masochists, but because they knew comfort isn't the goal. Strength is. So here's the question the Stoics ask us now. In a world that's addicted to ease, can you choose challenge and grow stronger than everyone around you? Blank. Blank. Number 5. Idle complaints and blame. Taking back your power. Ever notice how easy it is to complain? The weather's too hot. The boss is unfair. The traffic is unbearable. The economy sucks. The government's a mess. The Wi-Fi's too slow. It never ends, and if you listen closely, it's almost like a national pastime. We bond over complaints. We connect by sharing how tired, broke, or frustrated we are. At first, it feels honest, even therapeutic. But eventually, it becomes a pattern. One that drains energy, fogs your mind, and worst of all, convinces you that life is happening to you, not for you. The Stoics had zero patience for this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Don't argue what a good man should be, just be one." In other words, stop whining. Stop waiting. Stop pointing fingers. Take the reins. When you complain constantly, you give your power away. You tell yourself that someone else has control over your peace, your success, your time. And once you start believing that, you'll always be stuck waiting for conditions to change, for people to act right, for life to be fair. Seneca once said, "He is most powerful who has power over himself." That means choosing response over reaction, action over blame. That means realizing that you can't always control the world, but you can always control your role within it. Let's rewind to a more innocent time. Remember when you were a kid, and nothing ever seemed to go your way? Maybe your sibling got the last cookie. Maybe you lost a game. Maybe the teacher gave you a bad grade and you just knew it wasn't fair. Complaining was a go-to move, because we hadn't yet learned how to take full responsibility. But now, as adults, many of us still haven't made that shift. We just have more sophisticated things to whine about. And yet, there's something quietly powerful about people who don't complain. The ones who face hardship, smile, and keep going. The ones who take accountability even when it wasn't all their fault. Those are the people we admire, not because they're lucky, but because they're in control. Now ask yourself this. What would your life look like if you replaced every complaint with a choice? What if instead of saying, "This is unfair," you asked, "What can I do with it?" What if every time you were tempted to blame someone, you turned the mirror on yourself and acted? Stoicism isn't about pretending everything's fine. It's about saying, "Yes, this is hard. And I will handle it anyway." That's real power. That's maturity. And maybe, just maybe, that's the mindset shift that changes everything. Number 6. Living without discipline. How chaos creeps in when you let go. Let's talk about something that's not glamorous. Not trending. Not sexy. But absolutely life-changing. Discipline. In a world that screams, follow your feelings, do what makes you happy, and you deserve a break, the idea of structure, consistency, and restraint sounds boring. But you know what's actually boring? Waking up every day with no purpose. Wasting time. Feeling behind. Watching opportunities slip by because you couldn't stay consistent. The Stoics didn't see discipline as punishment, they saw it as freedom. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." If your alarm clock controls you, your cravings control you, your moods control you, then you're not in charge. You're just reacting. Discipline isn't about waking up at 5 a.m. every day or eating boiled broccoli for dinner. It's about being aligned. It's about deciding who you want to be, and then proving it to yourself, every single day, through action. But here's where it gets real. When you live without discipline, chaos doesn't rush in like a flood. It creeps in, slowly. You miss one workout, eat one bad meal, skip 1 hour of work, scroll instead of sleep, and before you know it, days become weeks. Weeks become months. You start wondering, what happened to my energy? My goals? My edge? And the worst part? You barely noticed it happening. Let's take a walk down memory lane. Think about a time when your life had structure. Maybe it was high school or college, where your days had a rhythm. Or maybe it was your first job, when you had to prove yourself. There was pressure, sure. But there was also progress. There was momentum. And maybe you didn't realize it then, but that structure? It kept you sharp. Now, what happens when you take that structure away? What happens when life gets comfortable? No one's checking your work. No one's forcing you to grow. That's when the danger sets in. That's when life becomes a blur of distractions, shallow dopamine, and regrets. But here's the twist. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. And every time you keep a promise to yourself, wake up on time, finish the task, say no to temptation, you add a brick to the foundation of who you are. So here's what the Stoics would ask you now. What's the cost of an undisciplined life? Not just in productivity, but in self-respect, in peace, in who you could have become. And more importantly, what kind of life could you create if you made discipline your default? If you've made it this far, you're not like most people. You don't just start things, you finish them. That alone puts you in the top 0.01% who are serious about self-growth. The fact that you've stuck through the uncomfortable truths, the ancient wisdom, and the internal battles tells me something. You're ready to take control of your life. Drop a full score in the comments if you're still here, just so we know who the real ones are. And if you're genuinely committed to breaking toxic habits, rewiring your mindset, and building the kind of mental strength the Stoics talked about, then hit that subscribe button. This channel isn't for the faint-hearted, it's for those ready to do the work, one habit at a time.